I used to be very skinny, insecure, and always felt like I was an inferior man. Fast forward 3 years later, and I'm much more confident in my physique and almost 30 kilograms heavier than when I started in the gym. So if you stay to the end of the video, I'll explain exactly how I did that. So here's my full story. So I guess it all starts off in childhood. I was always a pretty active kid, playing lots of sport and playing around in the neighborhood. I was born in 2002, so growing up as a kid, I feel like it was that time just before we started getting all the technological advancements like iPhones and everything that we've got today. I mean, we started to get the early models of the iPod touches and things like Wii consoles, but it was still pretty common that all the kids in the neighborhood would just come out and play outdoors. Pretty much all throughout my childhood and well into my early teenage years as well, I was always known as one of those skinny kids, always had a six-pack, was always lean, and honestly I thought that it was just impossible for me to gain muscle. Throughout my teenage years is kind of when I started to first get into weightlifting and the gym, and my dad is pretty into weights as well, so throughout my childhood he always had some sort of home setup as well, and into my senior years in high school is when I really started to get into it myself. We didn't have a massive range of equipment, so the things I'd mostly use are just dumbbells, a pull-up bar, and lots of chin-ups as well. And I mean, those are pretty solid fundamentals to use anyway. But yeah, literally those couple of things kept me in pretty decent shape all throughout my senior years. Like I said, always had a six-pack, had built a little bit of muscle, but never really put on any size, because the one thing that always let me down was my diet. I always thought that I was eating heaps, but in reality I just wasn't. By the time I graduated high school, I ended up weighing only about 57 to 58 kilograms, and I went straight into an office job after school. That is when things really started to go downhill for my physique. My lifestyle had completely changed. I wasn't as active. I was sitting down for more than 8 hours a day, and all around it just wasn't a very good time. I had ended up putting on weight, which was kind of good, but it wasn't all good weight, it was mostly fat. Now the year at this point was 2021, and this is actually the year that I met my current best mate. I always love telling the story of how we met, and he was actually the first person that got me into a proper commercial gym, so I'll touch more on that coming up soon. But yeah, after that 1 year at the job, I ended up being pretty skinny fat. I had skinny limbs, but my body fat crept up over 20%. And I decided to start my own business and quit that job so I had more time flexibility, and I ended up landing myself back at Coles. And it may not seem like that would make a big difference, but I was now on my feet for a lot longer throughout the day, and I did start to finally lose weight again. It's not long after that my mate actually convinced me to go into a commercial gym with him. We literally just walked in and we saw the personal trainer. We said, "Mate, if you can do a muscle up, we will sign up today, right now, no questions asked." And sure enough, that's exactly what he did a muscle up, so we signed up. I mean, looking back on it now, that was one of the best decisions I honestly could have made. Why would I limit myself to a home setup when I could just pay $16.95 per week and get access to all of that commercial equipment 24/7? It just makes sense. And little did I know just how much this decision would change my life forever. Now, I thought I was pretty clever, and I thought I knew what I was doing, so I made my own routine and I brought that into the gym. And to be honest, I never really struggled with making the gym a commitment. It was just the mindset that I had at the time. I found it really easy distant than everyone else. 6 months go by and my strength has increased. I've built a little bit of muscle, but ultimately I wasn't doing that much. So I finally decided to patch the one hole that I was missing, and that was my diet. I finally started to take my nutrition seriously, and I downloaded MyFitnessPal, and this is where things started to change. I was seeing progress week by week. The kilos were dropping off. Now, keep in mind, throughout this whole time, I thought it was impossible for me to bulk, so I actually decided to go on a cut. I could have definitely gotten away with just starting out with a bulk because I was already pretty lean, but I wanted to get absolutely dick skin shredded. I spent hours and hours every single day watching countless YouTube videos, and eventually I stumbled across the animal-based diet, and boy, did that work. Nutrition was never based off my own personal enjoyment, but rather based on results, so I really didn't mind sticking to a whole foods only diet. And by the end of that cut, I had ended up dropping right down to 63 kilos, and body scans had me reading at 5.5% body fat. So December comes around, and I think I've been in the gym for about 8 months at this point, and I decided I had had enough of being shredded. I wanted to gain some size finally. For me, I was always reluctant to go on a bulk because I just thought it didn't work, but I decided to give it one final push. The gym actually ended up hiring a new gym manager. They were kind enough to hook me up with a free training plan, and they also gave me plenty of diet and nutrition advice as well. So reluctantly, I started eating and eating and eating and eating. I had never eaten like this before. Bacon, eggs, pasta, protein oats, bulking shakes, you name it, even full pizzas. I was smashing it down, 4,000 calories a day. Finally, the kilos were stacking on and I started to get compliments even just 8 months into the gym. At the time that first bulk was done, I had taken myself from 63 kilos up to 77 kilos in the span of just 8 months. Along with all that new size I'd put on, my body fat also crept back up to around that 20% body fat mark, so it was time to cut again. I was going into this cut with a lot more confidence and a good plan of attack, and things were going really well until all of a sudden disaster struck. Towards the later periods of that bulk, I ended up taking a leap of faith. See, I had fallen out of love with the business I was running at the time. It was really stressing me out. So I made the decision to move on and sell the business. I had no idea what I was going to do, and I felt like I had to start all over again. So I had a good chat to my best mate from earlier on, and I decided that I was going to pursue a career in health and fitness. The gym was something that was always there for me, even when things weren't going so well during the business. And for some reason, I just never had and I fully funded that myself, so it definitely drained my bank account. I just remember sitting there going, fuck, I hope I made the right decision. So fast forward a little bit, my studies were going well, but I still felt a bit lost because I had no business. And I didn't have my qualifications yet, so I couldn't really do too much in the health and fitness industry. And just when I thought nothing else had gone wrong, a breakup occurs. I felt like life had kicked me to the gutter, and I felt like I had to completely reset all over again. I went from running a business, making a little bit of money, and building a relationship with my partner at the time, to all of a sudden being flat broke, having no business, and no partner. So what do you do when you're going through heartbreak? Well, of course, you go on a shred. I was at least able to use everything that had happened to me and use that as driving fuel for this cut. After about just 10 weeks of dieting, I'd lost close to 10 kilos, started to reveal all the new muscle that I had built, and I got my six pack back, so I started feeling like me again. So by the end of that 10 weeks, it's now roughly October 2023, time to go on my second bulk. At this time, I am now qualified, and I'm more driven than ever, with more knowledge than ever going into this bulk. I decided to take this one a bit slower. I was aiming to gain 500 grams of body weight per week. However, in the beginning, on the first bulk, I was gaining over 1 kilo of weight per week. And I also continued this second bulk for about 8 months and ended up taking myself to a new peak bulk of 84.4 kilograms, which was 7 kilos higher than the previous peak. So in order to give my gut a break, I went on maintenance calories for 2 weeks, and then I decided it was finally time to cut, and that brings me to where I am at now. So for the past 3 weeks now, I've been in a pretty aggressive calorie deficit, and I've ended up losing 5 kilos already. I have about 1 more week to go of this really aggressive calorie deficit, and then I'll allow myself a little bit more flexibility to slow things down and aim to lose half a kilo of body weight per week, whereas at the moment I'm losing 1 kilo plus. All up, this cut will probably go for 8 to 10 weeks, depending on where I'm happy with what level of shredded I get to. But I'm also completely in the industry now. I have my own coaching business, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I mean, me personally, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of the gains that I can make, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. And I'm also looking forward to inspiring many more younger people to experience the same transformation that the gym allowed me to go through. So that is my complete health and fitness transformation so far. I just wanted to thank every single one of you who have stayed to the end of this video and watched all the way through and showed your continual support. I can't wait to see what the future has in store. And like I mentioned before, if you guys want to take control of your own health and fitness and work with me one-on-one, I have my own coaching business now, so I'll leave a link to those applications in the description below. And if you guys want to follow along on the journey and keep up to date with all my content I post over on Instagram and TikTok, I'll leave those links in the description as well. With that all being said, you guys are legends. If you haven't already, get yourself into the gym. If you are already in the gym, just remember, never give up, educate yourself, stay consistent, be patient, and the progress will come. And I'll see you guys in the next one.